The invitation no one wanted. We weren't chosen because we were the best. We were chosen because they thought we were harmless. The galaxy had gathered in the Celestial Assembly, a station orbiting a dying star that pulsed like a heartbeat across the void. Delegates of every major species, feathered Zalari, crystalline Voth, molten Zar, and the war-born Carawillo, sat in rows of throne-like perches, each one carved in their image. All awaited the announcement. The High Arbiter, a being of pure light encased in shifting obsidian armor, raised a hand. The crucible of legends shall begin in one cycle. Whispers and hums echoed across the chamber. For the first time in 9,000 years, the champions of each dominant species shall not be trained by their own, the Arbiter continued. They will be trained by others. The chamber erupted in protest. Accusations flew, sabotage, dishonor, a disgrace to tradition. But the Arbiter's voice cut through. This is by decree of the collective. To temper strength with humility, each legend must walk through unfamiliar fire. And then came the list. Dozens of champions were announced, each assigned a foreign trainer. Some met with amusement, others with silent rage. But one pairing silenced the chamber completely. Varictel of the Krwl Dominion shall be trained by the human major, Aria Mendez. Murmurs grew into open laughter. The Krwl were known across the stars as the apex warriors of the galaxy, engineered for combat, relentless in the art of war. Their chosen, Varictel, was a walking force of destruction, born in battle pits, grown in zero-gravity crucibles, tested against monsters from extinct worlds. And now, a human would train him? On Earth, the news came in through static on an old monitor deep in the mountains of Patagonia. The screen flickered, revealing the pairing, Varictel and Aria Mendez. She didn't smile. She didn't blink. She simply poured another shot of whiskey, swallowed it dry, and whispered, "Why me?" Aria had once been a legend herself, not galactically known, but on Earth, her name was whispered with respect and fear. A field commander who led 30 through hell and brought 5 back alive. Decorated, honored, and then forgotten. After the failed mission on Theros Prime, she had vanished from the ranks, retreating into silence and snow. A chime broke the silence. An incoming message from the Unified Earth Command. You have been selected. Refusal is not an option. She chuckled bitterly. Of course it's not. The first meeting between trainer and champion took place aboard the neutral vessel, Judicator's Hand. Varictel entered the chamber like a black sun, towering, armored in scaled carapace, his every step vibrating the metal floor. His eyes, glowing silver slits, narrowed as he studied Aria. This is the human, he growled in his native tongue. A small translator, Orb struggled to keep up. Aria stood without flinching. She was barely above his waist, hair tied back, wearing no armor, no decoration. Just a black combat suit and a stare like stone. You speak basic? She asked. I don't speak to pray, he answered. She walked past him, slow and deliberate, and placed a data chip on the holodeck. Training starts now. First test, obedience. Sit down. He laughed, a sound like metal grating against metal. You think you can command me? I don't care if you obey me, she replied coolly. But if you don't listen, you won't survive my methods. And you sure as hell won't survive the crucible. The room fell still. For a moment, even the hum of the engines seemed to fade. Varictel didn't sit, but he didn't strike her either. He tilted his head. You think you can make me better? No, Aria said, walking to the door. I can make you worse. Meaner. Tougher. Smarter. You want to be a legend? Then forget perfection. I'm going to teach you how to survive when your bones are broken, your allies are dead, and the enemy knows your every move. She turned back. Because that's what humans do. We don't just win. We outlast. Later, in her quarters, Aria opened a small case. Inside were 5 dog tags, each one from a soldier lost under her command. Her fingers trembled as she held them. Not from weakness, from memory. You didn't die for me to waste away, she whispered. Training Varictel was a joke to the galaxy. A punishment, some said. A mockery, others claimed. But Aria saw something else. A second chance. Not to win, not to redeem herself, but to prove what humanity had always done best. Take the impossible and make it stronger. Pain is the price of progress. You don't grow in comfort. You grow where it hurts. The training site wasn't a KRYLL combat dome or an alien war simulator. It was an asteroid. Nameless, unstable, brutal. Humanity had converted it into a live-fire crucible, complete with gravity shifts, random terrain, and life-threatening simulations. To Verictel, it was chaos. To Aria Mendez, it was home. No patterns, no logic, no honor, Verictel snarled, his four-clawed feet crunching over jagged black glass. That's the point, Aria said, pacing beside him. The crucible of legends won't play fair, so we won't train fair. He glared down at her. I was bred for precision, for glory, for structured war. She stopped and looked up at him. And yet, you're training with a species known for duct tape, desperation, and dying creatively. Verictel growled, but he didn't reply. The first drill began. Aria dropped him into a pit of shifting gravity with no warning. One moment he was running, the next he was weightless, tumbling toward a wall lined with spikes. He twisted midair, crashing awkwardly. No fatal injury, but pain bloomed through his ribs. Lesson 1. Aria's voice echoed through the arena. Pain teaches faster than praise. Over the next 6 days, Aria broke him down. She blindfolded him and made him navigate pitch-black mazes filled with trip wires and simulated gunfire. She made him meditate while chaos simulations, screams, explosions, death cries filled the room. She starved him of comfort. No battle armor, no regeneration serum, just ration bars, cold water, and wounds that had to heal slowly. Verictel resisted. Every part of his KRYLL discipline screamed for order, for efficiency. But Aria denied him that. You want control? She barked one day. Then earn it in the worst conditions imaginable. On the 8th day, he snapped. He charged her mid-drill, furious, blood seeping from a gash in his side. His claws sliced through a hologram projector. Sparks flew. His roar shook the walls. I'm not your pet, he howled. I am Verictel, born of the Dominion. I have torn gods from the stars. Aria didn't flinch. She stood in front of him, arms crossed, then acted like something more than a tantrum. He froze, breathing hard, muscles trembling with fury. I don't care about your breeding, she said quietly. I care if you can survive the moment everything goes to hell and you're still standing. She stepped closer, voice lower now but sharper. When my squad died, I had to crawl across a battlefield with my leg shattered. I buried 5 people that day. You know what kept me alive? Verictel said nothing. Not my training, not my armor. Just the sick, stupid human idea that if I gave up, they died for nothing. She turned her back to him. You want to be the greatest? Then suffer like we do. Bleed for it. That night, Verictel sat in the dark alone. No simulations. No voice in his ear. He stared at his hands, scarred thick, perfect, and yet useless in this human-made chaos. He remembered Aria's face when she spoke of her squad. Not angry, not broken, just hollow, like a soldier who never came back, even if her body did. He clenched a fist, and for the first time in his life, he felt something new. Not rage, not pride, not superiority. Shame. He had mocked her, doubted her, but she had survived what he never had. Loss. The next day, Aria found him already waiting at the training field, balancing on a beam above a pit of fire and swinging blades. You're early, she said. I need more drills, he grunted. Why the change? He met her eyes. Because you're not here to make me stronger. You're here to make me human enough to survive anything. A pause. You're not a legend, he added. You're something worse. Worse. Aria raised an eyebrow. You're a survivor. She gave him the smallest of smiles. Now you're learning. Over the next cycle, something shifted. Verictel no longer just endured the drills. He adapted. He began predicting the chaos, adjusting on the fly, leaning into the pain instead of avoiding it. He started meditating without being told, trying to hear the silence beneath the noise. He even asked for combat sims against human opponents, curious how these fragile beings moved, fought, and persisted. Aria watched it all unfold in silence. Every bruise he earned, every mistake he owned, it was working. She didn't need him to become a machine. He already was one. She needed him to become something machines feared: unpredictable, emotional, resilient. In other words, something dangerously human. Better than a legend. The galaxy feared perfect warriors. They should have feared imperfect ones who refused to quit. The crucible of legends began under the twin suns of Coral Prime, a world designed for spectacle and slaughter. Mountains floated mid-air, shifting with gravity flux. Platforms shimmered with energy fields. Billions across the galaxy tuned in. Varictel stepped onto the crucible grounds in silence, his massive form wrapped in a stripped-down version of his KRYLL armor. It bore scratches and heat scorches now, earned during Aria's chaos drills. He didn't hide them. In the arena's towering observatory, the KRYLL High Command stood stiff, glaring. "They've weakened him," one general hissed. "Made him soft." But below, in the trainer's gallery, Aria Mendez leaned against the railing, arms folded. Her expression was unreadable, her voice quiet as she muttered. Not softened, refined. The first match began against the champion of the Voth, a crystalline assassin who moved like refracted light, vanishing and striking from angles that defied physics. In his previous life, Varictel would have roared, swung blindly, tried to crush the ghost with brute strength. But this was not the old Varictel. He stood still, breathing slow, remembering the night Aria had made him track her in complete darkness with no sensors. Just instincts, just patience. The Voth struck, a blur of motion. Varictel didn't react. He waited. The next strike came, a fraction too confident. He turned, caught the assassin mid-blink, and slammed him into the ground so hard the arena cracked. First round, over in 12 seconds. As rounds progressed, the galaxy began to whisper. Something was different. He wasn't fighting like a KRYLL. He used tactics. He played with timing. He let opponents think they had the advantage, then turned their own momentum against them. He's adapting, a Synthari observer noted. Like a human. The comment spread like wildfire. The other trainers began adjusting strategies, but it was too late. Varictel was relentless. During the fourth round, he faced a champion from the six-eyed Thage who created illusion doubles mid-battle. In previous years, those illusions confused even AI trainers. But Varictel didn't swing at phantoms. He knelt down and listened. Aria's words echoed in his head. Your ears hear what your eyes can't. Trust more than your vision. He leapt, arms out, not at the illusion, but at the Thage who thought he was hidden in the shadows behind the wall. One move, one roar. Victory. After the match, he approached Aria quietly. They hate me, he muttered, nodding toward the KRYLL box. Good, she said, handing him a water canister. I'm no longer theirs. You were never meant to be, she replied. They made you to win battles. I trained you to survive war. He looked at her, genuinely curious. What's the difference? Battles end when the enemy falls. War ends when you stop falling. He didn't speak again. But that night, he placed a single red stripe across his armor, something no KRYLL warrior had ever done. A human tradition, honor through pain. The final match was announced. Not a biological champion, not even a living one. The Synthari had sent their weapon, NX-7 Prime, a perfect AI war form, forged in black holes, immune to pain, hesitation, and fear. It had never lost. Whispers rippled through the galaxy. Some said it was a test. Others said it was a message. You can't out-train perfection. In the KRYLL quarters, the command laughed cruelly. Let the humans see what futility looks like. Aria said nothing, but in her eyes, a fire burned. Before the fight, she pulled Varictel aside. This thing? It doesn't care, doesn't adapt. It just reacts faster than thought. You can't overpower it. Then what do? You do what it can't. She tapped his chest. Feel. Improvise. Suffer. Change. He stared at her, jaw tight. I'm afraid. She smiled for the first time. Good. Use it. As he walked into the final arena, the galaxy leaned in. The crowd expected another legend to die. Instead, they watched a warrior begin to live. What humanity makes. Perfection never bled. But we did. And we learned to fight better because of it. The Crucible's final arena was unlike any other, alive and shifting. Platforms floated across a sea of plasma. Gravity reversed without warning. Bladed winds sliced the air. No rules. No patterns. It was the ultimate test. The kind of chaos Aria had been preparing him for from the first day. Across the battlefield stood NX-7 Prime, the Synthari champion. Its body was sleek obsidian alloy, built without a single organic flaw. No pulse. No fear. No empathy. Target identified, it spoke in a cold, perfect voice. Probability of KRYLL victory, 2.8%. Varictel rolled his shoulders, his crimson-striped armor gleaming with battle scars. Let's see what 2.8% looks like when it doesn't give up. From the trainer's box, Aria watched, arms crossed tightly. She knew what NX-7 was. She'd fought AIs before. They didn't make mistakes. They just calculated outcomes and acted faster than thought. But they weren't built to survive suffering. The gong sounded. The battle began. NX-7 moved like lightning. Within seconds, it had crossed the platform, landing the first hit. A plasma blade sliced deep across Varictel's shoulder. The KRYLL didn't flinch. He remembered Aria's voice. Pain is information. Don't fear it. Use it. He shifted his stance, adapted his weight, used the injury to bait the AI. The next attack he rolled with, turning it into a counterstrike, but NX-7 anticipated it. Another slash. Another hit. Sparks flew from his armor. Varictel growled, blood dripping down his side. The crowd leaned in, breathless. He's losing, someone whispered. He's bleeding too fast. But Aria's eyes narrowed, not in worry, but recognition. No, he's testing it. And he was. Every blow, every fall, every second of pain was part of strategy. He was mapping the AI, learning its timing, its limits. The AI began adapting faster. It launched a barrage of calculated strikes. But something unexpected happened. Varictel laughed. Not the boastful roar of the KRYLL, but something quieter, fierce, human. You move like a god, he said between ragged breaths, but you think like a machine. Then came the turning point. NX-7 launched its signature finishing move, a high-velocity spear of compressed energy, undodgeable at close range. Instead of avoiding it, Varictel stepped forward. The spear tore through his side, dropping him to one knee. Gasps echoed, but the AI hesitated, just for a microsecond, registering a possible kill. That hesitation was all Varictel needed. Using momentum, pain, and sheer will, he drove his full weight forward, tackled NX-7 off the platform, and plunged them both into the unstable plasma zone. Alarm screamed. The arena surged with heat. From the molten edge, a figure rose. Not the sleek machine, but the wounded KRYLL. One arm burned, one leg dragging. But his eyes, those fierce, silver eyes, still burned with something no AI could calculate. Defiance. Silence across the galaxy. Then, the High Arbiter's voice boomed. Victory, Varictel. Trainer, Major Aria Mendez. Final outcome, unprecedented. The stadium erupted, not in cheers, but in stunned awe. No one had ever beaten a Synthari AI without hacking or system overload. Varictel hadn't found a glitch. He bled harder, fought dirtier, adapted faster. He'd fought like a human. Later, in the medical chamber, Varictel sat on the edge of a bed, chest wrapped in biofoam, one arm missing, the other still bleeding. His face was calm. Aria walked in, a faint smirk on her lips. Not bad, she said, tossing him a water flask. He caught it with his remaining hand. You said I couldn't overpower it, he rasped. You didn't. You outlasted it. He looked at her, eyes softer than they'd ever been. Was I enough? She paused, then crouched beside him. You were better than enough. You weren't their legend anymore. You were ours. He nodded slowly, then added something unexpected. Your species is flawed, weak, fragile, illogical, and I envy it. Back on Earth, Aria stood once again in front of her squad's memorial. But this time, she didn't just look at their names. She added a 6-dog tag to the chain around her neck, one custom-made. Varric TL, KRYL, Legend Reforged. She whispered, "You'd have liked him." The final galactic report was quiet, clinical, and buried behind bureaucracy. Threat Assessment Update. Humans now classified as Class A adaptable assets, capable of altering elite combatants through non-standard methods. Recommended action. Monitor closely. Do not underestimate. But the real impact didn't come from files. It came from whispers, from alien generals quietly requesting human instructors, from galactic warlords rethinking what victory meant, from champions beginning to ask themselves, what would a human do? Final line. They trained the impossible, not to be perfect, but to survive, to evolve, to win. That was the human way. And now, the galaxy would never forget it.